Good afternoon, I'm Charmaine Colvin and you are listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. On India this week, a suspected militant attack in India's Jammu and Kashmir territory on Wednesday has resulted in the deaths of 26 men and more than 17 injured, the worst attack on civilians in India since the 2008 Mumbai shootings. The attack occurred in the town of Pahalgam, a popular beauty spot in Indian-administered Kashmir in the Himalayas, often described as the Switzerland of India. Gunmen opened fire on unsuspecting tourists. The dead included 25 Indians and one Nepalese national. The attack is viewed as a setback for Prime Minister Modi and Hindu nationalist BJP, who have credited themselves with bringing peace and development to the long-troubled Muslim-majority region. Modi cut short his two-day visit to Saudi Arabia and returned to Delhi immediately after the attack, which little-known militant group, the Kashmir Resistance, has claimed responsibility for in a social media message. It expressed discontent that more than 85,000 outsiders had been settled in the region, spurring a demographic change. The group claimed that the individuals targeted were not ordinary tourists, rather that they had affiliations to Indian security agencies. They said the attack should serve as a wake-up call not only for Delhi, but also for those who support Delhi's questionable strategies. They also warned they would intensify their strategic attacks to ensure that those involved in undermining the resistance struggle would face appropriate consequences. Indian security agencies say Kashmir Resistance is a front for Pakistan-based militant organisations such as Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen. Pakistan has said it only provides moral and diplomatic support to the insurgency in Kashmir. Following on from US President Donald Trump's announcement for a 90-day pause on most tariff hikes for major trading partners, including India, while sharply increasing levies on Chinese goods, India has recorded a trade deficit of $99.2 billion with China in the 2024-25 fiscal year that ended in March. This was driven by a surge in imports of electronic goods and consumer durables, according to trade data recently released by Commerce Ministry. Last month saw goods imported from China jump over 25% year-on-year to 9.7 billion, led by electronics, electric batteries and solar cells. Total imports from China rose to 113.15 billion in the past fiscal year. By sharp contrast, India's exports to China fell 14.5% to 1.5 billion in March from the previous year, with total exports dropping to 14.3 billion in the 12-month period. Analysts say that this is a wake-up call for India as rising imports reflect deeper structural dependencies of the Indian economy. China emerged as India's second biggest trading partner in 2024-25, with two-way trade of 127.7 billion after the United States. The Indian government plans to set up a monitoring unit to track a surge in cheaper imports from countries like China and warned firms against helping foreign exporters bypass US tariffs. India and the US need to work together successfully for a prosperous and peaceful 21st century, US Vice President J.D. Vance said in a speech calling for closer ties between the countries across sectors. Vance, on a recent 4-day visit to India with his family, also added, "If we fail to work together successfully, the 21st century could be a very dark time for all of humanity." His remarks come after his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and both countries said they had made progress in negotiating a bilateral trade deal, which Delhi hopes will avoid higher tariffs. India is among a number of countries rushing to negotiate trade deals with the US during President Donald Trump's 90-day pause on higher tariffs, which ends on the 9th of July. India was set to face 27% US tariffs before the pause was announced. Since then, Delhi and Washington have been working towards an early conclusion of trade negotiations. In his speech in Jaipur, Vance said that the two countries had finalised the terms of reference for the negotiation. Despite the warm relationship shared by both leaders, Trump has repeatedly taken aim at India's high tariffs, branding it a tariff king and a big abuser of trade ties. India has already cut tariffs on a number of goods in the past few months and is reportedly considering more wide-ranging cuts to pacify Trump. Sectors like agriculture, however, where Washington wants greater access but India fiercely protects, are still sticking points. Chief Financial Officer of Tesla India said this week that Tesla sees India's 100% import tariffs on cars making customers anxious, and the car maker is still assessing when to enter the very hot market, even as those concerns linger. Tesla has long wanted to sell in the world's third largest car market, but high tariffs, which its chief, Elon Musk, has said are among the steepest in the world, have been a deterrent. Despite this, Tesla has, in recent weeks, finalised some showroom space in India and posted more than 24 jobs, signalling it is getting closer to the launch. Custom records show in March that Tesla imported a Model Y car to India from Germany at a shipment value of $46,000. The same car is 100% more expensive than it is, so people are concerned about paying too much. That is why Tesla is being very careful about when to enter the Indian market, according to Tesla's CFO. Tesla has been lobbying India to lower tariffs on cars, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's officials are in talks with US President Donald Trump's administration to lower the 100% levies under a bilateral trade deal. The US has asked for an elimination of tariffs on cars, but New Delhi is unlikely to bring down taxes to zero immediately, even as it considers further cuts. Any duty cuts that make imported cars cheaper have seen strong opposition from local car makers, such as Tata Motors and Mahindra. Saudi Arabia and India agreed to boost cooperation in supplies of crude and liquefied petroleum gas, according to a joint statement reported by the Saudi state news agency this week, following a visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Saudi is one of the largest exporters of petroleum to India. Modi met with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman before cutting short his visit and returning to New Delhi after a deadly attack on India's Jammu and Kashmir territory. And finally, an 82-year-old woman who teaches the ancient Indian martial art of Kalari Payat says she has no plans to retire. Meenakshi Raghavan is widely thought to be the oldest woman in the world to practice the art form. Kalari Payat, Kalari means battleground and Payat means fight, is believed to have originated at least 3,000 years back in the southern state of Kerala. It is regarded as India's oldest martial art. Meenakshi occasionally performs in other cities, but mainly runs her own Kalari school, founded by her husband in 1950. So that's all from me. You have been listening to India This Week on Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.